Where I'm going in at?
Oh, yeah.
Hello, young man.
What's up? Good to see you, bro. How you doing? Welcome back to the States.
How we doing, man?
Good.
Yeah, we tried to draft your ass last year. For God's sake. It's all worked out.
Yeah. That's
You remember that, right?
Yeah, that's what I was about to tell you.
Someday we'll get a chance to talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, sit down.
Albert Breer of Sports Illustrated had a little insight to actually what went into the process. One of the interesting things was, one of the questions on this so-called test, as he puts it, was how would you develop Shedeur Sanders?
I have a feeling, Chris, it was a little bit more specific than how would you go about developing Shedeur Sanders. But the fact that his name was on that essay, then Dylan Gabriel's name, at least according to Albert Breer, was not, and Deshaun Watson's name was not, that leads me to believe that the Browns have an inkling that Shedeur is going to be the starting quarterback heading into September. But I don't know what Todd Monken thinks about that. And ultimately, Chris, I don't know if Andrew's going to be able to just categorically make that decision the way that he could when Kevin was the head coach.
He's been in football his whole life. And so he's wanted to lead an NFL team. That's why he went back and left Georgia. He went back to the league. Because he wanted that opportunity, and he knew he was capable of doing it. And look, wherever he's been, whether it's Grand Valley, Eastern Michigan, Louisiana Tech, Southern Miss, I mean, everywhere he's been, he has turned it into a winner. And Cleveland is going to have him. I know there's a lot of people, well, who's Todd Monken and why Todd Monken? This is a football coach, and he knows every part of that game, from special teams to clock management to defensive structures. You got a football coach, and he's going to do a heck of a job.
Everything about Shedeur is blown out of proportion. I think if Dylan Gabriel would have been in the room at the time, we would have seen the same video and nobody would have reacted to it.
Wouldn't the Browns put out the video of Dylan Gabriel and the Monken interaction? That's the question.
Yeah, I guess. Listen, I think this is a great fresh start for Shedeur with a new head coach. And a new year means from day one he'll be, competing for the starting quarterback job. Whereas last year we know what happened. I do not expect at any point of the off-season, pre-training camp season, I do not expect Todd Monken to name a starting quarterback, okay, until we get to a competition. But we'll learn about his thoughts on the quarterback situation, Tuesday probably when he's introduced.
And then the other part of this, Tony, is Albert Breer wrote something yesterday in his notes about the Browns interview process, which was much talked about, the essays and the tests, all this. He revealed that one of the questions was specifically about Shedeur Sanders. He said that Dylan Gabriel and Deshaun Watson were also brought up in the interview process, but one of the questions was specifically about Shedeur Sanders and how you develop him. What do you make of that? If that is indeed true, that Shedeur was part of kind of the interview process, what do you make of that?
Well, I think it's a fair question to ask your prospective coach. This is the guy that started more games for us than anybody last year, the final 7. Mm-hmm. And we saw improvement in him. What do you see? And what might be your plan of attack in the off season and also into training camp? So I think that's fair. Now, does it tip the hand that the Browns are leaning towards Shedeur as the number one quarterback? I think he's very much in the running for that and probably is the front runner based on, the way things ended. And they want to know, I'm sure they asked, they did. They asked Schwartz, they asked Schilhaus and any others they interviewed. I'm dying to hear his answer when he'll be asked that by the media at his introduction. So it is a fresh start for Shedeur. And if I were the Browns, I would try to find out, do you like him? Do you see how much talent do you see there? Can you work with them and whatnot? So I think it's all fair and fairly obvious that you would want to quiz your coach. I'm wondering, did they ask him about Deshaun Watson? What do you see there?
Well, that was reported that Deshaun Watson and Dylan Gabriel also came up in the interviews, but there wasn't a specific question on the essay part of it per se. That's what's been reported by Albert Breer. We do not know, like, what were the other 5 questions? We don't know anything there, But just Tony, that report yesterday, and then you get the video of the embrace between Shedeur and Todd Monken today, and that's got people, Shedeur fans especially, are very excited right now, I would say.
Yeah, I'm sure Shedeur's excited. He's heading out to San Francisco for the Pro Bowl games. And good for him. I mean, for what he went through last year, it's more this season. Well, this season, which I mean, the coming season, starting in April when they start their off-season program, will start a lot differently for Shedeur than his rookie season, obviously.
So, Tony, right now, and this impossible question to answer, but I'm asking anyways, the QB room seems to be Deshaun Watson's going to be there almost guaranteed just because of the contract and the fact that to get any sort of cap room to improve the rest of the team, they need to restructure Deshaun's contract. So let's put him to the side. It now seems like probably Shedeur is going to be here. It would be kind of a surprise to. Do you think there's any way that Dylan Gabriel maybe is not part of this QB room going forward? Could, say, the Atlanta Falcons trade for him? Could Kevin come get someone who people thought that he liked a lot? Could he be the odd man out of this? And then maybe they draft another quarterback or add maybe a Tyler Huntley, who I brought up yesterday.
Yeah, it's fair to raise that issue. We'll see. I don't know if Kevin Stefanski will have that kind of authority with his new job. He's got not only a president of football, but a new general manager ahead of him. But they have Michael Penix, who's a left-hander, coincidentally, who won't be ready for the start of at least the off-season program. And I don't know what their plans are with Kirk Cousins, but they got a big decision to make in March on whether they bring him back, because there's ramifications if they bring him back, and the guarantees into 2027, which I don't think the Falcons want any part of. So there could be a market there for Dylan Gabriel, and we'll see. And of course, the Browns are always on the lookout for 5th-round picks in the draft, right?
You think that's what it would be, right, for Dylan Gabriel?
That seems to be the standard price, man. If they got a 5th-rounder for DTR and Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco. So I think it's possible. I don't know if it's probable, but it's possible.
Tony, what in all the videos that I've seen of Todd Monken today, and even from Brian Kelly, you guys had Brian Kelly on RBS to talk to him. He seems so grateful for this opportunity. Like he talked about, hey, I left Georgia after 2 national titles to go back to the NFL and the Ravens to end up here as a head coach. It wasn't to be an offensive coordinator in the NFL. It was to be a head coach again. It seems like Cleveland fans are really getting behind him because, hey, you can tell how much he's wanted this and to be a head coach.
Sure. I mean, he'll be 60 years old next week. He is the oldest Browns coach in history. Wow. He is, I think, the oldest first-time NFL coach in history. And it is ironic that, we were talking about we were expecting a youth movement with possibly the youngest ever coach in Grant Udinski, and we end up having the oldest. Listen, in my age bracket, I favor this. I like the experience that Monken brings and the breadth of his experience. If anyone heard our interview with Brian Kelly, he talked about how Monken, he knows special teams, he knows defense. He taught Kelly the offense when they finally got together, their first stop together in Grand Valley State or whatever it was. So this is a complete football coach, not just a offensive coordinator trying to take the next step. So all that is reassuring. And I'll say it again, the Monken choice is the logic and the wisdom of it is becoming clearer to me, especially with the fact that they have to navigate this void this problem at defensive coordinator right now. I just think he's so much better equipped to navigate that than a young up and coming coach.
And then I think I brought it up a few times this week. I'm bringing it up again. The more we hear from Todd Monken and the more clips and everything that all Browns fans see, and they're excited about it. And I don't know if this was intentional, but Tony, his personality just seems completely opposite of Kevin Stefanski's was.
For sure. And
he's a true football guy.
And that'll come very through in this intro press conference. He was here 1 year as offensive coordinator, and we would do the coordinator interviews on Thursday, even back then. And Monken had to bite his lip a lot of times for the questions that were asked to him. Freddie Kitchens was the head coach, and he couldn't be as blunt as he probably will be as head coach. And I think fans and media will find it very refreshing to get legit answers from the head coach. We would get those from Schwartz. I think they're similar in that respect. They're very, very candid, and yet they're smart enough not to say anything too controversial. But I think we'll get a lot more information and a lot more candidness from Todd Monken.
Yeah, and look, that's probably going to be a refreshing to a lot of Browns, and probably for you, Tony, being in the media, that's going to be refreshing, I would imagine.
No doubt. We're ready for it after 6 years of non-answers, and they're really great. We hear the reaction from fans as much as anyone, in different platforms. The YouTube, Twitter, on the air, emails, and really. Kevin's non-answers really grated on people.
It was a big sticking point for fans, Tony. It really was.
More so, I think, than the media. It really was because I thought just things rolled off of Kevin's back, and he was not going to offer up anything much. I always compared him to Bill Belichick in that regard, and I think that was his personality.
Yeah, Tony. As we wait for the defensive coordinator thing to get sorted out, what happens with Schwartz and all that. We had some news today. Jeremy Fowler reporting that the front runner for the Browns offensive coordinator job, they still have to, I think, finalize it, but it seems like it's his to lose. Former Ravens run game coordinator Travis Switzer, he was with Baltimore for 9 years. He worked with tight ends, run game coordinator, was an offensive lineman at the University of Akron, but it seems like he's the front runner to be the favorite for the Browns offensive coordinator job. Anything there? It seems like the Browns are really leaning into fixing the run game with some of these early offensive hires.
Yeah, I think that's a central point in Monken's vision for the offense, and he is able to take a guy who was with Harbaugh for 9 years, as you mentioned. He was a center actually at Akron, and did play other position, guard too, but. And he worked his way up from administrative assistant in 9 years to a prominent position on their offensive staff. Now, I was told yesterday that T. Martin, the quarterback coach of the Ravens, was a possibility for Browns offensive coordinator. But I was also told that Jesse Minter really wants to keep him in Baltimore. And also Harbaugh was, looking at